So, I watched Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, and it was a mess. If you don't know, Rebel Moon is the first in a trilogy of straight-to-Netflix sci-fi space opera epics by Zack Snyder. The first one, Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire, stars Sofia Boutella as the main character, Charlie Hunam as a Han Solo-like character, and then some other people. Now, this movie wasn't even really terrible. I was expecting it to be much worse than it was. It was really just a weird, messy hodgepodge of a bunch of other stuff. Although I did watch this with my friends, I feel like if I watched it in a theater alone, I would have liked it much less. One of the biggest issues with this movie, probably the biggest, is the pacing. The movie is the first in a trilogy, and a good movie that's the first in a trilogy will still have its own complete arc and storyline, whereas this movie is all exposition and setup. Basically, Sofia Boutella is trying to find some people to defend a small village she lives in, Seven Samurai style. It's one of the many things that this movie rips off. And she sort of just wanders around to different planets, meets someone, they sort of have an introduction scene, and then they say nothing for the rest of the movie and sort of just awkwardly stand in the background as she goes and meets someone else. And then there's no big like climax at the end where they defend a village. It sort of just ends. They just go and meet people, they fight a bad guy for a little bit, and then it ends. Because this is just act one of a movie, essentially, the characters that she meets have no characterization. Like I said, they barely say anything outside of their introduction scenes. Aesthetically, the movie's also a mess. There's some Warhammer influence on this movie. Some of the bad guy costumes are literally just straight out of Warhammer. The bad guys group is called the Imperium. The army is even called the Militarum. It doesn't just rip off Warhammer, it feels like you're watching every sci-fi movie ever made put into one. And the planets are so aesthetically inconsistent that it's jarring. The planet we start on, everyone's dressed like 1800s farmers, and then on the same planet there's a city that looks like a samurai city from like Yojimbo. They go to another planet and it's literally just, there's a coliseum and it's gladiator themed. Nothing really happens on each of these planets. There's a small action scene usually introducing the characters, but sometimes there's not even that. When they recruit the guy from the Coliseum planet, they literally get off the ship and then see him in the gutter and then get him to join. The dialogue is terrible. There's a lot of like repetition in a bad way. The main character sees the bad guy's ship and one of the farmers says, "What do they want?" And she says, "Everything." And then later one of the farmers asks the bad guy what he wants and he says, "Everything." It's really bad and embarrassing. The action scenes are also really bad. They're the typical Zack Snyder slow-mo thing. In the shootouts, the characters are avoiding getting shot, not because they're more skilled than the people they're fighting or they're using cover to their advantage. It's because no one can aim for shit. The shootout in the samurai cantina is especially egregious, where it's just in slow motion, people shooting at each other and missing. It's like something out of a Naked Gun movie. Also in the action scenes, half the times the guns don't leave like a mark or anything, and the stabbings are always completely bloodless. This movie would have benefited from some more gore or even just a little bit of blood instead of someone getting stabbed or shot and their body showing no mark at all. Anyway, I would not recommend Rebel Moon. I guess if you're interested, you might like it. If you like Zack Snyder's other movies, you'll probably like it. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't think it was terrible. It was a very below average movie, but not terrible. It was a mess though. A complete mess of just so many ideas that do not fit together, just being mashed. The whole movie is just the main character going to a planet, meeting someone, they have a short action scene, and then they don't say anything else for the rest of the movie. They just stand in the background while she goes and meets other people. Anyway, what's your favorite sci-fi movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, check out my video on the Marvels. Bye bye.